Hey everybody, spring has really sprung here in Tennessee, and I just wanted to show you a few things here and there. Hope everything's going well for you so far, and just have kind of look around my garden and see some of the interesting stuff that I'm seeing this morning. This is a native alternative to the Japanese honeysuckle. It's coral red honeysuckle, and it doesn't have the strong fragrance that the Japanese or Asian varieties of honeysuckle actually have, but what it does do is it attracts hummingbirds like crazy. So you can see those red flowers. They haven't quite opened up, but soon we'll have a lot of those hummingbirds zipping about looking after the red honeysuckle. Now this is golden ragwort. It's a native plant here in Tennessee, and it's really pretty. It spreads a little bit. You can see we've got some baby plants here for the golden ragwort. And the interesting thing is the word wart. A lot of people think, the wart that's on your skin, that kind of gross thing. Wart actually just means plant. So keep that in mind whenever you see ragwort or other things like that. St. John's wort would be another option, another alternative with the wart in the word. You can see this boxwood here has got a ton of new growth all over it. I'm hesitating to actually prune it. Right now I'm going to take the hedge trimmers out in a couple weeks and do it, but I don't want to do it just yet because of all this new growth. I'm afraid we may still have a freeze that's going to pop up, and so I don't want to prune that until after that has been done, so I can prune off anything that might have died, and I don't encourage a flush of new growth that's just going to end up getting frosted. So I'm going to wait a little bit. Probably after the frost date, April 15th, I should be okay to go ahead and prune things. This is a Japanese maple that I planted here a long time ago, right behind this arbor as kind of a companion to the arbor. And I'll back up just a little bit so you can actually see it all. But it's in need of a stain, but what I did with the arbor was kind of different. I took 4x4s to use as the central posts, cut diamond-shaped holes in them, and then kind of did a little bit of a bevel end to each one of them, and you can see these posts go right on through to each side of the 2x8s, I believe those are. And I ended up planting a grapevine. This is a Concord grapevine that you can see is just now starting to flush out some growth. I'm going to take some good cuttings of that this year because I've got some pieces I need to remove. Almost every time I go to get cuttings off of this plant, not cuttings, but fruit, when I try to get the fruit, a raccoon or some other critter beats me to it. This little sprawling ground cover is a juga. It's kind of got this bronze color, almost a purple-ish to the leaves, and it looks really nice as a ground cover. And then it's got these blue, purplish flowers that come up. It can be quite weedy. It does like to spread through its rhizomes here. Kind of crawls across the ground, actually the stems. So you got to be careful with it, but it does make a good ground cover in shady areas. Now over here is my shade garden, which we had a new roof put on last year, and my oak leaf hydrangea was damaged in the process where they dropped a lot of roofing shingles on it. So the branches that are extending out here to the sides, I'm going to end up having to cut back and cut off of the main stem, the main stalk of the tree. But in here, I've got things like hellebores. Hostas are coming along good. There's a basic hosta right there. There's a fern. That's an offset of another one that I divided. There should be some other things coming up as well in here. This is kind of a surprise, but, well, not really a surprise. But it is a hydrangea that has self-rooted based on another hydrangea branch that went to the ground. So that's called layering. I think I may have done that on purpose, but I don't really remember. And over here we have more hellebores, which, here's a little thing. I saw somebody talking about wanting to have a whole lot more hellebore in their garden. And these are seed pods that are forming. Hellebores like to be sown fresh. So if you take the seed immediately after growing it and then scatter it where you want them to grow, you can get a lot more hellebores growing. In fact, I don't plant them intentionally, but I just get lots of hellebore babies all over the place. So sometimes if you just let nature take its course, maybe help it a little bit, but it will do its own thing. Those will turn brown here in a little bit, and then they'll be ready to expel the seeds. So I'll gather those up and just kind of sprinkle them where I want them to go. In here is a variegated Solomon seal, and you can see these little flowers that hang underneath the stem are pretty cool. I like variegated plants whenever I can get a hold of a variegated version versus a regular version. But they're a real pretty plant. A lot of pollinators seem to like them. The carpenter bees have loved them and enjoyed them, which I'm happy for them, but they need to stay away from my structures. Here's a very common variety of Heuchera, and this one is Palace Purple. You can see by the purple leaves coming along. It's one of the few Heucheras, I'm not sure how you pronounce that properly, but it's one of the few ones that you can actually get a plant to grow from seed that is true to the original plant. So if you want to collect the seed after they turn into little seed pods in the fall or late summer, go ahead and you'll probably get something very similar to what the original plant was. This is our Lunaria, also called money plant by a lot of people. It forms these silver dollar-like seed pods later on that resemble like a silver dollar. Actually, there's some that are starting to form right here. They're kind of neat looking. But you see in here, they've kind of overtaken a bit of this little Heuchera. Also in this bed, I've got the Ajuga growing again over here. And there is a phlox, I believe it's Phlox pilosa right here, that is just starting to form some flower buds. This is a Mohawk viburnum, and it's a heavily fragrant viburnum. Definitely worth planting in your garden. It's a variety of the Korean spice. I think it's a hybrid from it. One of my favorite viburnums is the Shasta, and this is one that I propagated a while back and moved over to this garden bed. It is loaded with flowers right now. It's also called a double file viburnum, and you can see that the flowers on the stems parallel each other right down in a double file on the branches. So that's pretty much why it's named what it is. There is a version of the same type of, I believe it's Viburnum plicatum tomentosa, something like that. I'll look it up and I'll pop it up here on the screen. But it is the snowball viburnum, and it can easily be confused with another one that is a sterile variety of viburnum. So, you know, the botanical names are important when you're identifying plants, that you get the right one and you don't confuse people. I moved over to the Veggie Garden where I have planted a fire pit. This is a metal fire pit from Tractor Supply that I got last year. And I filled it with soil, and I planted radishes. And you can see them growing pretty well over there. And not much else has popped up yet, but I'm starting to see a few beets coming up over here in this section. So we've got radishes there. We also have some beets down here in a row. Little seedlings so far. They will take a little time to grow, but they're pretty fast growing. We like having roasted beets around the house. I've just watered my pepper and tomato plants, so taking a look at them real quick. Got these in the greenhouse right now, and I'm not planting out until after April 15th, and I may even wait a week after that because I'm seeing some low temperatures that concern me. And remember, frost dates are just a guideline. Over here, there's some creeping phlox. That is a chocolate mint that I dug up from around the house and put in a pot. Some Japanese dappled willow cuttings right there. I need to get most of this tray out of here. There's a few dead things and then some mums I need to start working on, pinching them back. I did a post, actually a video not too long ago, on catmint cuttings, and these are those catmint cuttings. They are starting to show roots through the bottom. Look at that. So they've been in here probably a little over a week, and they've got roots. Now, if you ever need plant labels and you happen to have an old set of mini blinds around, Those are easy to just cut and turn into a plant label. Just write on them in pencil, and the pencil will stay through the season. For some reason, permanent marker just comes off. It's not really all that permanent, is it? So I hope you've enjoyed that quick walk around. There's a lot more going on. Spring is in full swing here at Growing the Home Garden, and our Tennessee garden is really coming along. I've got another raised bed to put together. I've got raised beds to plant. There's just so much that's going to be happening down the road. So I invite you to subscribe and follow along, like this video, and look forward to talking to you next time.